are a few basic stretches that I feel are necessary to do after every pole session, even if I'm not going to go into the extreme stretches such as back bending and splits and things like that. Especially if you've been wearing shoes, some of these stretches are extremely important to combat the effect that wearing high heel shoes has on your legs. I am not yoga certified, so though I may use yoga terms, I am not teaching yoga. I am teaching stretching after a pole, okay? First thing I like to do after pole is downward facing dog, because when you've had your heels up in and you had your foot doing this for, you know, an hour and a half or however long, this right here is going to get shortened and this is going to get lengthened. So we're going to reverse that by doing downward facing dog. Easiest way to get into that for me is to take it to forward fold, making sure that I really kind of feel the muscles really kind of stretching and elongating up and over my pelvic bones, or the sits bones as they like to call them, and then reaching down and walking it out into a downward facing dog. I like to hold like so. Really make sure that you get your feet, your heels, as close to the mat as you can. A lot of people are up here like this, and that's okay. Try to get your heels close to the mat. You will feel that in your calves all the way up through your hamstrings. All right? From here, when I'm done with this, I like to push forward. You can hold a plank position. This will help work out the forearms and the shoulders. Make sure you've got your abs drawn in real tight. And then I like to take the plank down into a cobra position. This will help to strengthen your back muscles. This will also help to begin stretching your hip flexors. Make sure you're breathing deeply. And in Cobra, make sure that you're pushing through your palms. Try to keep your pelvis onto the mat and push through. Bringing your shoulder blades back and down by pushing through your chest. And remember to breathe. Come on back up into a plank. Slide a knee through and take it into a hip flexor stretch. This is where I like to bring my yoga mats into it. Yoga mats, yoga blocks. I'm already on a mat. This is where I like to bring my blocks into it because I like to take the blocks, and once I'm in the hip flexor or pigeon position, which is the front leg bent, back leg straight behind you, I like to take the blocks and push back to try to deepen that hip flexor stretch. The hip flexor is this muscle right here. Also what you use for your back leg in a split. Sit back. Make sure you breathe deeply. Keeping that knee as straight as you can. And then release, switch it to the other side. when you're only stretching one leg at a time, you've got to make sure that you give equal amount to both sides. And when you're just coming off the extreme of one side, do not try and push your other side right into that extreme right away. Give it the same amount of time that you gave the first side. This is stretching, again, this is stretching my hip flexors. These are the tightest muscles in my body personally, because if you sit for longer than 5 minutes, your hip flexors are scrunched up and doing this all day long, or for as long as you're sitting. And when you stand up, it's not that much better, especially if you like to arch your back, stick your butt out, looks cute that way, right? Guess what? That's how long your hip flexors. Here's another hip flexor stretch, just because hip flexors are so challenging to stretch. This time we're going to use the pole. So the mat's right next to the pole. We're going to get into kind of a lunge position and use the pole for that stability. The deeper you push down, the more you're going to feel it in your hip flexor. Squeeze that glute. Try and straighten that back knee and drop. Make sure you're breathing deeply. And what you do to one side, you've got to do